It was a stormy evening in the city. The streets
Please come
shimmered
in.
with rain, neon
Thank
signs
you.
flickering through the downpour, and most people hurried into the safety of warm homes. But one young woman, drenched, trembling, and desperate, stood at the tall iron gates of a mansion that seemed too grand to even approach. Her name was Elena, and for the past 3 days she had been wandering the streets with nothing but a worn-out backpack, and the hope that someone, somewhere, would show her kindness. She was exhausted, her shoes squishing with each step, her hair plastered to her face by the rain. She had tried every shelter in the area, full. She had knocked on doors, ignored. By the time she stumbled upon the mansion, she felt she had no strength left. The golden plaque on the gate read, Alexander Knight, a name she vaguely recognized. A CEO, a billionaire, a man who, she imagined, wouldn't even notice if someone like her existed. Still, with trembling hands, she pressed the intercom button and whispered, "Please, can I just have shelter for the night?" To her surprise, the gate buzzed open. Inside, Alexander Knight, a man in his late 30s, sat alone in his study. The storm outside reflected the storm inside him. Despite his wealth, his heart carried loneliness. His fiancée had left him months ago, saying he was married to his work. His friends only cared for his connections, and his family, well, they only saw him as a bank. Money surrounded him, but warmth was something he hadn't felt in years. When his butler hesitated at letting a drenched stranger in, Alexander made a rare decision. "Bring her inside," he ordered. No one should be out there in this storm. Elena stepped into the grand foyer, dripping water onto the marble floors, her eyes wide at the chandeliers and artwork that adorned the mansion. She felt out of place, like a beggar in a palace. She tried to speak, but her lips quivered from both cold and fear. Alexander walked down the stairs, his presence commanding, his tailored suit untouched by the chaos of the storm outside. Elena lowered her gaze, ready to be turned away, but instead Alexander extended a hand and said gently, "You look like you need warmth more than anything else tonight." Tears filled her eyes. No one had spoken to her with such kindness in so long. Layers began to unfold over dinner, something simple yet warm that Alexander insisted the kitchen prepare. Elena shared pieces of her story. She had once been studying nursing, dreaming of helping others. But after her mother's death, her stepfather turned cruel. When she refused to tolerate his abuse, he threw her out with nothing. She worked odd jobs, but when the diner she worked at closed suddenly, she was left homeless. Alexander listened in silence, his sharp business mind analyzing, but his heart softening with every word. She wasn't a con artist. She wasn't someone looking for handouts. She was a fighter who had simply run out of luck. Something stirred in him. He had spent years judging people by contracts, profit margins, and resumes, but Elena reminded him of something he had long buried: humanity. The next morning, Elena expected to be asked to leave, but instead Alexander offered her a room, temporarily, he said, until she could get back on her feet. Life in the mansion was like stepping into another world. But Elena didn't laze around or act entitled. She helped the staff with chores, often seen cleaning the kitchen, folding laundry, or tending to the garden. The butler once remarked, "She works harder than most of the paid staff." Alexander noticed. Every evening they found themselves talking more. At first about trivial things, the weather, the books in his study, but soon about deeper matters. She told him how she feared being a burden. He admitted how his wealth sometimes felt like a cage. One evening, after Elena helped repair a torn hem on one of his expensive suits, Alexander said softly, "You've given more value to this house in 2 weeks than all the board members of my company combined." Elena laughed, shaking her head. "I don't belong in a place like this." But Alexander disagreed, though. He kept it to himself. Word spread quickly among Alexander's wealthy circles that he had taken in a girl from the streets at a charity gala. Whispers followed him. His ex-fiancée, dressed in diamonds, mocked openly. "Really, Alex? A homeless girl? Has it come to that?" Alexander clenched his jaw, defending Elena fiercely. But when Elena overheard, shame washed over her. That night she packed her small bag, intending to slip out quietly. But Alexander caught her at the gate. "You think walking away will make me respect you less?" he asked. Tears streaked down her cheeks. "I don't want to ruin your reputation. People like me, we're only shadows in your world." For the first time, Alexander's voice cracked. "You're wrong. You're the light in mine." Their bond deepened, but challenges remained. Elena was offered a chance to return to her nursing studies with a scholarship. She hesitated, fearful of leaving the safe haven Alexander had given her. But Alexander encouraged her. Don't shrink yourself because of the past. I'll support you, not as someone you owe, but as someone who believes in you. Elena studied tirelessly, sometimes coming home exhausted. Alexander, once consumed by boardroom battles, now found himself waiting for her with late-night tea. The mansion no longer echoed with emptiness, it hummed with life. Months passed. One rainy evening, eerily similar to the night she first arrived, Alexander called Elena into the study. You came to me with nothing but hope, he said, emotion in his eyes. And somehow you gave me everything I didn't know I was missing. He knelt, not with a diamond the size of an empire, but with a simple band, saying, I don't need someone who fits my world. I need someone who changes it. Stay, not as a guest, but as my partner, my equal, my home. Elena's answer was a whispered, tearful, yes. This wasn't just the story of a CEO and a homeless girl. It was a story of humanity, love, and the power of opening a door instead of closing it. Sometimes the people we least expect are the ones who bring us back to life. And for Alexander and Elena, what started with a knock on the door became the beginning of a lifelong love story.